Hello. So, oh fuck, my eye is itchy. Hello there. Hello everybody, long time no see. Today is Tuesday, April 26th, and I am sitting here in my apartment right now. As you can see, I have some decorations behind me. My desk right now is just in the middle of my room, which is not normally where it's placed. It's usually placed up against this wall, so this wall is like, you know, yeah. But anyways, I just have it positioned here so I can show off. Well, that corner's coming off, so I can show you guys what I have going on behind me. So, I have not done an update video in a while, partly because I've just been really busy, and if you've been watching my more recent vlogs, they've been like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, you know, that sort of thing. I haven't had the chance to just have like a sit down video and like talk about what's been going on in my life. I just want to like keep it simple and just talk and share what's been going on with me. First major update. In November, we celebrated my friend Erin's birthday. We stayed up really late because we were doing karaoke until like 4 a.m. or so, maybe a little bit past that point. But anyways, like we were carpooling while my friend Sam was dropping me off. Wait, who was in the car? He dropped off Erin first, so it was Sam, me, and Ollie in the car. And at this point, the sun had already risen. It was like 6 a.m.-ish, I think, something like that. But we were just like talking about a bunch of stuff. And this conversation that we had, plus like the fact that I was just already enjoying the life that I've been living here up until that point. Basically, I realized that I really do enjoy my time here, and I do want to make a life for myself here. So I thought, why leave just after like 2 years or so? Even in just my first few months of being here, I've already realized life here is already pretty great, and I can see it like only getting better. I had the realization that rather than staying here for 1 to 2 years as I had originally set out to do, maybe I'll actually end up staying here 3 to 5 years. And just to further solidify that, I also thought, you know, I want to settle down in California. Like, that's where I want the rest of my life to be. So if my jet experience is going to be the only time that I am living in Okinawa and probably just Japan in general, like, I want to make the most of this. Once I also thought about that, it really solidified, like, okay, 2 years? No, I'm staying longer than that. Like, 3 to 5 years, I think. Okay, what's next? December. So I arrived in Okinawa like early October. Once I got here, there was a lot to adjust to, right? Like, this is my first full-time job. It's my first time living in a foreign country. It's my first time living completely just by myself. So there was a lot I was really acclimating to at first, and so studying Japanese was definitely not my priority in the beginning. And on top of that, like, I really dove straight into involving myself with the dance clubs at both my schools. So yeah, I was not really studying Japanese, and even though I bought a textbook, I bought the Genki textbook, I was not making much progress on that thing. And that's when I realized I need something to push me to study, and I also need to really practice my speaking. These thoughts, along with the fact that my friend was recommending this app called Italki, which is basically this app that connects you with native speakers of a language. But yeah, anyways, in December, I finally started doing Italki lessons, and I was doing them on a weekly basis. Because the structure of the lessons I was doing with the specific teacher that I chose to do lessons with included going over my Genki textbook, it was at that point where I was finally starting to make progress again in my textbook, and like making consistent progress thanks to her and the sort of structure we had going on. Like, she was assigning me homework every week. I was eventually able to finish the Genki 1 textbook, and then she sent me a PDF for Genki 2. So now I'm currently working through Genki 2, and I'm not gonna lie, the rates are different depending on the teacher, right? And the teacher that I had, like, she's really great, but it's also kind of expensive. So as of recently, I started just doing my lessons every other week, just to kind of budget a bit more. But anyways, when it comes to studying Japanese, like, on one hand, I feel like there's so much I don't know that it feels so overwhelming, and it feels like, oh, will I ever get to where I want to be? But at the same time, I also understand that learning a language is hard and it does take time. I'm just trying to approach it with the mentality of like, if I know something today that I didn't know yesterday, then that's progress. If I'm sitting in my school staff room and I hear a word or a sentence and I'm able to understand it when maybe I didn't necessarily understand it before, then I'm like, okay, that's progress. And I feel like finding those moments is what's really helping me push forward. And also just like seeing examples of like my friends who have been here longer, you know, and seeing where their level is at now. Like honestly, that's a really good example for me and a really good thing for me to strive for. I don't really know how to assess the pacing at which I've been progressing my Japanese, but you know, no matter how slow it has been, I think I can honestly say that I have been moving forward. Even if it's at a snail's pace, moving forward is moving forward. And I like snails, so. Anyways, another thing that happened in December was one of my schools, my base school, the one that I go to 3 days a week, they had something called a Kōyasai. All the students gathered in the gym and there was a series of performances, just like, you know, whatever, singing, dancing. And what I had been preparing since early November with my school's dance club was they had asked me pretty early on when I came, like, oh, we have this thing in December, will you choreograph a piece for us? And I was like, for sure. Like, of course, I would love to, I'd be down. And I was like, oh, how long do you want of like the song? And they were like, the whole song. And I was like, oh wow, this is not just a piece, or I guess it still is a piece, but like, dang, that's long. And just to make it a little bit more feasible, because I was making the choreo challenging, we didn't have like such a long time to prepare. I ended up, well, first of all, I chose Uzu Trap by Uzuhan. My friends back at home, you know, I love Uzuhan and dancing to Uzuhan. But basically, I shaved this song down to like 2.5 minutes, so still pretty long, but just like more manageable. But anyways, yeah, like we had prepared for that. I had asked them like, oh, are we the only ones dancing? Is this going to be the other only dance performance? And what it ended up being was that like there's this other group of students who were not affiliated with the dance club, but they kind of just did their own set of like pieces. But then what the dance club did, there was Japanese high schools have like 3 grade levels, right? First, second, and third. In the dance club, there's no first year students. It's just second and third years. And turns out this dance that I was teaching them, that we were all doing together, was just the last dance in a whole series of dances they were doing. It sounds like a set, but it's not a set because these are not all like connected into one mix. And the way they did it too was like the third year students, they perform a dance. Okay, hop off. And then boom, next song starts. Second year students, they come in, they perform a dance, and they kind of just kept switching back and forth until at the end it was our dance all together. Now the thing is, we had our own like outfit for the choreo that I had made and that we were all doing together, but for each of their individual pieces that they were doing, they had their own outfits for that too. So they were like, okay, David, before we do your dance with everyone, we need time to change, and we kind of just also like need somewhat of a breather from like that last performance before mine. Without being a proper set that's like one mix, they're still essentially like back-to-back performances, right? So freaking props to these students for their endurance, honestly. But anyways, they were like, yeah, we need time to change, and we kind of just like need a little bit of a break before we do your dance. You know, my piece was like 2 minutes 30 seconds. It's definitely tiring even just on its own. So I was like, oh yes, of course, like I can do some sort of solo. And then for my solo, I ended up doing kind of two pieces, one and a half. The first one was a legit piece I had actually made. The other piece was like, basically there's a grocery store that's only here in Okinawa. It's called Union. It's the grocery store that I tend to shop at. It has this really, really catchy theme song. Like honestly, it's a bop. Like it's so good. Every time I would grocery shop, I would hear it, and I'm just like, man, like I kind of want to dance to this. Like I hear this, it just makes me want to dance, and like that'd be funny, you know, like no one has ever danced to this. Around this time too, I was just getting into Twice. and I had learned the feels by twice. So I was like, I want to dance to this. I don't want to put in the effort of actually choreographing a piece. So I kind of just took the feels choreography and just like altered it slightly, and I put that to the Union theme song, and yeah, just the students just like ate it up. First showed some of my dance club students, they were just like cracking up. Just because it's like, who would have thought, you know, this song that has been so iconic throughout people's lives here in Okinawa, and like suddenly here I am, this foreigner, this gaijin comes out of nowhere, and I'm just like dancing to it, you know, and not so seriously either. I'm just like, you know, doing the feels sort of thing. But yeah, when I actually performed it at Kōyasai, what was really cool was that the whole audience of students, they just instantly like were singing along to all the lyrics, because you know, that's just how iconic this song is. Like everyone just knows it, right? So it's very entertaining for everyone, and everyone was just singing along, which was really cool for me. And yeah, that was Kōyasai. After that, we had winter break. My friend Sam, since he's a very good cook, he invited some of us over to his place for dinner. We had ourselves a Christmas dinner. It was really nice. And then shortly after, maybe a few days after, maybe the day after, a few days after, I went to Nagoya with my friend Erin, which I made a vlog about. You can check it out. Am I gonna link it? I don't know. Just look at my YouTube channel. And then coming back from Nagoya, I think I maybe had just like 2 days or something left of winter break before the school year started back up again. And there was 2 notable things that I had done. The first one was I had an opportunity given by my friend Ollie to dive for free. It was my very first time diving, and it was free when normally it would be like something over $100, but it was free because he's in the process of getting his dive master. It's like a professional licensing for diving. Part of his process of getting that dive master is teaching a beginner. So he said like, oh, does anyone want to do it? And by the way, if you do it, then because it's part of me getting my dive master, you will actually be able to do this DSD, this Discover Scuba Diving, for free. So I went scuba diving for the first time, which honestly was like, I don't know, like I had never had any interest in it, honestly, before coming to Okinawa, but since coming here and knowing that like it's a good place for scuba diving, and I have friends like Ollie who are really into scuba diving, I just thought like, okay, it's pretty cool. I'll give it a try, why not? And it was a little bit scarier than I had imagined. I guess I don't know what I was imagining. I have never snorkeled, so that's like a factor, I guess. But I did enjoy it, and I was like, okay, that was a little scary, and I was really clumsy, but I feel like it would feel very rewarding to get better at this and to get more comfortable with this. It's a very centering and peaceful and like mindful sort of sport. So I really appreciated that aspect of it. And so after that DSD, I was like, okay, I want to keep doing this. I want to actually pay for a course to get my open water certification, which I have a vlog about getting my open water certification. So you can go to my channel and watch that if you are interested. Very short video. But anyways, yeah, so scuba diving. Never thought I would get into it, but here I am. And then the other thing I did before winter break ended was I went to my first Golden Kings game. So Okinawa's basketball team in the B League. The B League is like the highest level of basketball you can play at within Japan. But yeah, Okinawa's team, the Ryukyu Golden Kings, is one of the best teams in the B League, if not like the best team. I mean, you already know, like it's exciting to watch sports games, but when your team is good and like wins almost every time, you know, like that just makes it even better to watch. So yeah, I watched my first Golden Kings game, and it was pretty cool. And I posted about it on my Instagram story, and shortly after, I had a friend of mine from back home reply to my story. This is a friend who I met at UCLA, but he actually went to North High, which if you're from Torrance, you know what that is. If you're not from Torrance, it's a high school in Torrance. It's one of the 4 Torrance schools: North Torrance High, West Torrance High, South Torrance High, and the school I went to, Torrance High. Anyways, he was like, yo, there's a player on that team that went to North High. And I was like, yo, what the heck? That's wild. And I looked it up, and even though there's some other like American guys who are on the team who I was guessing it might be, it was none of them. It was this guy named Ko Flippin, which freaking You hear that name? It doesn't even sound real. That sounds like a name, like a fictional name, a name from like a book or a TV show or a movie or something like that. How wild is it that like someone from Torrance, someone who went to North High, is here in Okinawa, and he's playing in Okinawa's basketball team, which is one of the best, if not the best, in Japan. So I thought that's pretty cool, and this is a pretty fun fact to share with people now, you know, like this person from my hometown is on your basketball team. One more thing I did during winter break was I spent New Year's with my friends. We kind of tried to do something on New Year's Eve, but that was somewhat of a fail. We kept it simple, it's just like a hangout basically, didn't really do much. But the next morning, there's this sort of like a Japanese tradition of watching the very first sunrise. We woke up early on January 1st and we went to go watch the sunrise. And we were also going to visit a shrine because that's another Japanese tradition. But the shrines were just so packed because everyone's trying to do that. So we did not do that. All in all, a very eventful winter break. I very much enjoyed it and was content. I'm very glad that I was able to experience the winter break that I did, because in probably all my future winter breaks, I'm just gonna use that time, since there's holidays, right? Like Christmas, New Year's. I'm just gonna use winter break to go back home and spend some quality time with like family and friends back home. So the fact that I couldn't do that this past winter break, I was glad that I was able to experience a winter break here in Japan. Okay, and since I've talked a lot about dancing, let me talk about that a little bit more. So in terms of dancing, in my first few months, I was dancing a lot because, you know, going to dance practices every time I was at my base school, going to dance practices every time I was at my visiting school. So that meant every single day of the work week, 5 days a week, I was going to dance practices. And on top of that, my visiting school would often have weekend practices. I think both Saturday and Sunday, but I'm like, okay, let's have a little bit of a work-life balance here. I would go to like just one practice during the weekend instead of both, typically. But yeah, that's a lot of dancing, which I don't know why, like, but when I got here, like, I just had so much energy for dancing, so it was really great for me to kind of just jump into, get myself into. And on top of that, it is just a lot of fun to be able to interact with the students outside of a classroom setting, because that really helps with the bonding aspect of it. It's just like a different environment, you know, like a different context. But there's also a dance studio that's like really close to me. Within these first few months that I was here, I was going to this dance studio a lot, at least once a week. And there was this period of 3 weeks where I was taking maybe like 3 classes every week. It'd be like on a Tuesday night, 2 classes back to back, starting from 9 p.m. and ending at like 11:45 p.m. after the end of the second class. It was fun, and I was like bonding well with the people there, so that's sort of why I wanted to like take those classes, even though, you know, it's Tuesday night, it's a work night, it's kind of inconvenient. And then also taking class on Friday. So yeah, my first few months here, especially those 3 weeks, you can imagine like I'm dancing 5 to 6 days a week for my dance clubs, but on top of that, taking like 3 dance classes a week. So it was really busy. I was really dancing a lot. From when I got here up until mid-December, I was really just dancing a lot, and that kind of burned me out. I had always imagined like when I get here, I'm gonna get into new hobbies. So it's kind of funny that I was just dancing a lot when I got here. But I guess the cool thing about that is, you know, like being able to choreograph and having dance as such a big hobby of mine, like it's cool that I was able to really share that with a lot of the people here, you know, like connect with my students, connect with my community through dancing. But then winter break happened, and also new variant of COVID happened. When the Omicron variant came, a lot of things were changing. Within my schools, like the schedules were changing. As for club activities, for a decent period of time, there was just no club activities whatsoever. So I went from like dancing so much, you know, nearly every day, and seeing and interacting with my school's dance club members so much, to suddenly no club activities, you know, whatsoever. So it was really like this end of an era for me. I would get off work at 4:45, but like on average, I think at both schools, practices would end around like 6:30. So like getting off work, going straight to the dance club. By the time I would come home, especially because it's like winter time too, right? Sunsets earlier. I got so used to it being dark by the time I got home. But once club activities were canceled and I was experiencing like going home as soon as I was done with work, the sun would still be out and I was like, yo, what is this? This is so weird. And then I also started having just like a lot of free time. So I was like, this is so weird. But because like, as I said, like I was kind of getting burnt out, just dancing so much and putting so much time into both my school's dance clubs, like it was a really nice break for me. But yeah, I quickly realized that that was a lot of free time and I didn't know what to do with it. And I feel like I could have been more productive, but instead what I did do to fill up that time was Brooklyn Nine-Nine is on Netflix Japan. So then I started just binging that. Like I was loving it. I was watching it every day. Like I come back from work and just be looking forward to watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And honestly, during this time of like, you know, less interactions with people in general because of the changes that were happening as like, you know, measures to prevent the spread of COVID and the new variant, I felt like the cast of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, they were like my friends. I was binging it so much that I feel like in a matter of a month or a month and a half or something like that, I don't know, I finished everything that was available on Netflix, which was like 7 seasons or something like that. Good show. But yeah, I would say it was definitely nice at first having this break from dancing and also like having more free time to myself. That period just lasted so long that I eventually reached a point of feeling like, this was good at first. It was refreshing, like a nice change of pace at first. But now that it's been like drawn out a little bit more, I actually feel like it's impacting me more negatively because, as I said, I dove straight into my dance clubs. And so I feel like getting used to that routine, just frequently seeing my dance club students and having that meaningful interaction, I came to really associate all of that with part of the value that I bring here as someone participating in the JET program. And I just thought, you know, like being a good ALT can look like a lot of different things. So I feel like in a sense, I'm totally replaceable. There's a lot of people who can play that role. But I feel like me being as passionate as I am about dance and, you know, like having experience with the choreography, I feel like in that way, like I'm able to really contribute a lot to my schools, or at least to the dance clubs and the specific students within those dance clubs. I feel like through dance, that's what kind of just makes it that much more valuable that I'm here. I feel like my involvement really contributed greatly to like my sense of purpose here. Like, yeah, I'm here to teach English, that's my job, but like the fact that I can also contribute in this way, I feel like no matter how busy it made me or how tired I would get, it's this very rewarding thing. That became most clear to me when I wasn't doing it. I started to realize like, oh, maybe I don't want to dance so much, but like I do like dancing, I still want to do it, and I still want to be able to contribute. Since that's part of my sense of purpose here, I felt like I was sort of lacking that, and it was kind of affecting me for the worse. And on top of that, you know, like I was getting regular exercise through that, so the fact that like I wasn't doing it and I wasn't doing anything to make up for it, like I wasn't just dancing by myself in my apartment, I was just like exercising less too. So that time in my life started to just like negatively affect me, I think. That happened for all of January, probably sometime into February as well, but eventually it reached a point where clubs were allowed to meet up again, but just for like a shorter amount of time. And then things started getting better from there. Because of like the variant, there's not a lot that happened in January. I guess one thing that I did with my friends was we went Sakura viewing, because Sakura in Okinawa is a different subspecies compared to mainland Japan. So it's this like darker pink, and it also, I don't know if it's because of the subspecies or because of the weather, if it's because of both, but it also blooms earlier. So like January, sort of February time is when the Sakura here in Okinawa blooms. So we got to see that, and that was pretty cool. All right, February. In February, some of my friends and I, we went to Hokkaido. So I also have a vlog about that. Go to my YouTube channel and check out that video if you're interested in seeing that. The vlog I made about Hokkaido was more so focused on like the snowboarding aspect of it, but we did some other stuff too. One thing in particular that I didn't talk about or didn't show in my vlog was I went to my first onsen, and I more or less knew what it was, but I still like, you know, it's my very first time, so of course it's kind of shocking. And I did it with my friend Sam. I think the thing is just like when it's something that's established culturally and it's a context where like other people are not making a weird thing of it, I was able to just feel normal and not weirded out. And I mean, overall it's just a nice thing, you know. And Hokkaido being like northernmost part of Japan, being cold, you know, snowy, that contrast of like it's cold, it's winter, but then the onsen, it's like super hot, and seeing the steam, and like, you know, we have outside baths where like we're sitting here, but then right next to us is like a rock with like covered in snow. So that like contrast was really nice. It was really cool, like the visual contrast, but also just like that temperature contrast. Super nice. So really glad I got to experience that, and I will definitely be experiencing more onsens in the future. Also within February, within a Japanese school year, the third year students, which is equivalent to like seniors in American high school, somewhere like early to mid February, they like stop going to school to prepare for like their graduation, and like, I don't know, maybe there's some sort of like trip that they go on, maybe preparing for like post-graduation life, like whether it's preparing for college or for job or like whatever it is that they're doing. So that was weird because I stopped seeing the whole grade level of students. Within my dance clubs, like I stopped seeing them too, so I was like, whoa, like this is really weird. And I didn't see them again until graduation. That leads me to my next thing. In a Japanese school year, it ends in late March and the new school year starts early April. So graduation is sort of like in between that. It was cool witnessing my first Japanese high school graduation. Kind of just like seeing like how it's different here in Japan, like for a high school graduation, at least in Okinawa. I'm going to talk about how an Okinawan graduation is and not generalize it to other parts of Japan because I don't know, things could be different. But anyways, like they don't wear a gown, they just wear their school uniform. What shows that they're graduating, I guess, is they have like a flower pinned to their uniform. And then at the end, like instead of tossing caps like you would do in an American high school or college graduation, they take off their blazers. They toss that in the air. So I was like, oh, that's cool that they have something like that. And then what's really cool too is that when the ceremony's over and everyone leaves the gym, a bunch of like family and friends are waiting outside, and like at least in Okinawa, like they have all these things to give the graduates that I wasn't expecting this, but it's actually very similar to the US, where they have flowers and they have floaties and they have these different sort of like snack arrangements that they're giving, like a hat that's made of like snacks that's all packaged in a way. Snack lays too. It was really just, I don't know, it made me happy to see all of that, really heartwarming. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I'm getting that similar, like really happy, festive vibe that I got back when I graduated high school. But yeah, one thing that they didn't have, ribbon lays. That's not something that they did. So I wanted to give something to my graduating dance club students. And so I was like, you know what? If it's not something they do here and it's something American, then yeah, I want to give that to them. And they're expensive to buy. I don't even know if you could buy them around here. So I made them. It was my first time making ribbon lays. Honestly, like, definitely saves you money from buying ribbon lays, like saves you a lot of money. And yeah, I gave them these ribbon lays. I mean, this is for them, you know, like this is their day of graduating, like this day is about them. But to my surprise, the graduating dance club students ended up giving me something, which basically, they ended up giving me this, which is this like booklet with a group picture of all of us and these messages that they wrote to me, all in English, which, if I haven't mentioned it before already, the level of English at my schools is pretty low. So I think they just use Google Translate to write these. So yeah, that's why like a lot of it doesn't really make sense grammatically. But like just the fact that they did that was really sweet. They didn't have to make something for me. And they didn't, if you know, for writing messages, it didn't have to be in English. They could have written it in Japanese and then like, you figure out understanding the message. But yeah, I got this and I was just like, wow, this is just really sweet. And like, it's stuff like this that reminds me that I'm doing something that is true to myself and that means a lot to me. And even though I don't need like recognition, I don't need like a thank you or anything like that, it's always, it's nice, you know? It just makes you feel good. It's nice to receive things like this. So, yeah. And with graduation and with the end of the school year, there's just a lot of change that happens moving into the next school year. So in Okinawa, there's sort of this like rotation system where like teachers who are not yet like full-fledged teachers, they can only teach for like a max of 1 year at a school, and then they have to move to another school. And then other teachers, like there's this sort of in-between thing where like you're just starting to become a full-fledged teacher. I don't know all the correct terminology and technicalities of it, but then like your max is like 3 years at a school, and then there are full-fledged teachers where their max is 5 years, usually like 5 years out of school before they have to move. But yeah, that being said, like the teachers who I work with, my JTEs, my Japanese teachers of English, these ones that I really like, they're the ones that ended up transferring. It really bummed me out that, you know, it was these specific teachers who were transferring out to different schools. And also just the fact that they're all transferring at the same time. I was like, of course this has to be happening, like what the heck. But you know, it is what it is. And as much as it bummed me out, I also just had to remind myself something is better than nothing. The fact that I was able to spend these couple of months with them is a lot better than if I were to not have had any time with them at all. So yeah, in the end I was just really grateful, and like I was happy that I did get to share those experiences with them and form those connections with them. And as they were encouraging me, every time I was expressing that I was bummed out that they were, you know, leaving, new teachers coming in is an exciting thing. And obviously there's always potential for other great teachers to come. So yeah. That being said, I'm kind of skipping around. In March was graduation, right? March 1st, like very early March or something. Also within March, I took my first surfing lesson with my friend Joe, and we both really loved it. And we both decided, like after our lesson, before we even like started driving away, we both had told each other, let's hurry up and just buy all our own gear, and let's start making this a regular thing that we do, because like we just both loved it and we wanted to just get better and keep doing it, you know, and Okinawa is just like a good place to do it, good place to surf. From then, throughout March and sort of early April as well, just, you know, buying a lot of my own surfing gear and going surfing with my own gear a few times since then has been a lot of fun. And even though like during that very first lesson, we were using these boards that are like, they're foam and they're like 9 foot long. So it's like very beginner friendly. And I was actually catching some waves, and like my friend Joe also caught a handful of waves. And I think that's good progress, but at the same time, like after buying the boards that we ended up buying, it gave this sort of false sense of progress. And we kind of had to like start at zero again, or somewhere close to zero, because our boards are very different compared to those very beginner friendly boards that we used during our lesson. But it's been fun, you know, like just trying to figure it out, and just the fact that like the gear that we're using to surf, it's our own, you know, and I think that's really cool. And my board, huge difference in length. So that beginner board is 9 foot. So beginner boards is usually like 8 to 9 feet. Intermediate, like mid-sized board is usually around like 7 feet. The board that I have is a 6 foot board, which is considered a short board. So it's a pretty hard adjustment. But the reason why it's not something completely unreasonable is that it's still a foam board, and like length of material I kind of factored into this like broader thing that better determines like what qualifies a board as being like beginner level or beginner friendly or not, which is the volume of the board, the liters of the board. So my board, in terms of the volume, is actually beginner friendly. And yeah, I don't know, man, like I just really enjoy surfing. And you know what too, like I've actually had 2 dreams where I've been surfing, so that just goes to show like how much I think about it and want to do it. I just want to get good at it. And I know it's weird that like coming from California, it's like, oh, I could have surfed there, why didn't I surf there? And I think it's just a matter of like none of my friends really surfed. I didn't really know much people who surf, so I never personally got into it. And I was always just like, ugh, why would I voluntarily wake up early to go do that? And plus, like, the water could be cold. But now it's like freaking just the other week, I woke up at like 4:45 in the morning to go surf. So it's like, yeah, that's just, you know, it's just so fun. And it's nice that now, like, even when I'm done here, even when I'm finished with my jet experience and I leave Okinawa, when I come back to California, I can continue to surf. So I think I'm just really stoked about that fact. And then also within March, in my Kurama Islands vlog, you can see Joe and you can also see this other friend of mine named Jeffrey. So they're both new jets who came around the same time that I did. We have that diving in Kurama's vlog that I made, but then the next time we next time we went diving after that was in March, and we all got our advanced open water certification together, which is basically the next certification after that initial like open water certification. This advanced open water certification basically allows you to go to a deeper depth. So instead of the 18 meters max depth that you had with open water, as an advanced open water diver, we're able to go to a max of 40 meters. 40 meters, 30 meters, I don't know, one of those numbers. But basically now, like with that certification, we're able to do any recreational dive anywhere in the world. So yeah, got our advanced certification in March. So that was pretty cool. One of the things we saw during our advanced open water course, which is probably like the coolest thing I've seen so far on a dive, was this giant moray eel, which can grow to be around like 9 feet long at max. And I feel like the one we saw was definitely between like 2 to 3 meters. So between like 6 to 9 feet, it was somewhere in that range. And like just seeing that directly below us, maybe a meter or two below us, that was freaky. I was like, yo, this is straight up a monster beneath us. And the picture I'm gonna try to show here, there's not much of a size reference, so you can't really see how big it is. And to be honest, in this picture, it kind of looks like a Muppet. It looks kind of derpy. Just know that like, it's kind of scary, yeah. But that was really cool to see that. Okay, I've been talking so much. I don't know how long this video is at this point. It probably is pretty darn long. But yeah, just to sort of wrap things up, the new school year has officially started. I've met and have been working with some of the new JTEs, which they're really great. I really like them. And after having spent all this time with the JTEs who haven't left, who are still at my schools, I can really start to tell too that like I'm forming this closer relationship with them as well. Like we're just more comfortable talking to each other, and I think that's really cool. I say that a lot. I think a lot of things are really cool. But yeah, I'm really grateful about that, and it's nice to see that progress in our relationship. And for me to just feel like more comfortable with my colleagues, more comfortable at my schools, just more comfortable in my work environment. I haven't even been here for a full year, but like the fact that I'm entering this like new school year, it feels like that first year is like finished in a way. But yeah, and then there's also a whole new set of first year students at both my schools, so it's also been very refreshing getting to meet a lot of these new students. And like what I said about my JTEs, like also that familiarity with the students, the new second and third year students who are here, like it feels really good to have that balance of like, oh, refreshing, exciting, new students, wow. But at the same time, it's like, oh, familiarity, like we have this rapport that we've kind of already established. Like that's really nice too. And yeah, as I said, it's currently Tuesday, April 26th. This Friday is going to kick off something in Japan called Golden Week, which is this like series of national holidays that are all packed closely together. So it turns into this time that's really good for vacationing, basically, like going to different parts of Japan, going, you know, somewhere international or something. I'm actually going to be leaving this Saturday with my friend Sam, and we're going to be going to Fukuoka, which is in Kyushu. And Kyushu is one of the major islands within Japan. We'll be there from May 1st to May 8th. There's just like a lot of exciting things that we have planned for that. I'm really looking forward to vlogging that and sharing that with all of you guys. Definitely watch out for that. Given that that's going to be my next vlog, I just really wanted to make this a very just sit down, talk with you, update heavy vlog. So yeah, I imagine this ended up taking pretty long. If you sat through this far, if you stayed till the end, thanks. That's all. See you next time. Hope you enjoyed this vlog. Get out of here. What am I trying to... I forgot how to speak on the camera. It's just been too long, man. But anyways,